I guess the fairness side is not about, obviously, you have to, from the foundation that you treat each other with respect and do not take advantage of each other intentionally, at least, right? So that's like a baseline, what I'm talking about. Then the fairness I'm talking about is actually on top of that baseline, thinking about, because going back to our topic of who should pay when you date, is you don't actually calculate in a sense and say, this dinner, I paid £5 for this. So next part, you have to pay £5 as well. So that's just example in a sense that fair or equal in terms of monetary value or in terms of things that you always like calculate in your mind, thinking, have to be equal enough or fair enough. I think that's also another side of the extreme and thinking everything should be measured in, let's say, monetary terms or measured in the modern society criteria terms. I'll give you a simple example, right? Nowadays, when we look for a partner in life, a lot of times we're thinking about check boxes. At least like initially I was thinking about that. So when I'm looking for people, like a potential boyfriend or future partner, I'm thinking, okay, he has to be have a great degree, do certain jobs, has certain height. So that's like a traits of check boxes I'm ticking. But on the facade is a checkbox, but actually underneath that is my criteria of fairness. So I've evaluated my personal value or my personal worth first and thinking, I have this kind of criteria checked. So I need to find another partner with this criteria checked as well. So we are compatible at the same value. But on the other hand, it actually turns this into a trade, into a fair trade or equal trade. And that is a concept, what I mentioned before, like capitalistic society, that kind of thing that influence into our modern life, romance. For example, like in Chinese terms, we talk about 门当户对. And that means like that makes a lot of sense, right? But I like it because more from the growing up background experience. So people with similar family backgrounds growing up tend to have more, common grounds. They tend to be more like compatible to each other. But I don't see it as more from a monetary point of view, because that's more like a symptom rather than the essential prerequisites. So yeah, that's basically what I meant by fair trade.
So it's the preconception of a list of things that would make your relationships go easier down the line because of the starting foundation block is much more aligned compared to I won't say someone else that's much further away, for example. I mean, of course, there's age, there is family background, there's language and cultural barriers. And I guess that makes up for a certain percentage, if we have to quantify it, of how the relationship will go well. And of course, the other part is what we discussed last week, is the skill in how you can love someone.
Also, I found this kind of, perception a bit of harmful in terms of the concept of fair trade, is actually because if you measure your own value against someone else's value, when the relationship doesn't work, you actually subconsciously think you are not worth it. And a lot of times I have that feeling. Why would we have that feeling? Because I had a thought about that, because in my previous failed relationships, and so every time, not every time I said goodbye to the other person, right? There's some times that the other person said, this is not for me. So it was a decision made by the other party. Especially in that situation, no matter how rationally you think, you thought, there's nothing else I can do. I did my best. It's not my problem. But in a sense, subconsciously, deep in my heart, I still have that self-doubt and thinking, am I not good enough? Am I not good enough for that person? It's just because I'm used to the whole concept of fair trade in terms of love relationships. Like my value has to be compatible with the other person. If the other person thinks that's the other way around, maybe my values not match up to that standard yet.
What's the alternative?
What do you mean by what's the alternative?
So, of course, when we look at relationships, we have equal and fair trades.
Yeah.
So-called, I guess it's the makeup of whether someone is right for us and we're right for them. And much of it is based on the past experiences that we've had growing up, the wealth, the skills, the intelligence we've accumulated.
Yeah.
And if you use that as a reference, as a measurement to determine how the next person I'm going to date is good for me, ultimately that's going to come back at you at some point in your life when they do decide you're not the one for them. And I guess the question I'm asking is, the alternative is to relinquish all of that, and this is irrelevant. I'm liking a person simply because of their character or simple traits.
I understand. So your question is, instead of existing criteria of, let's say, this societal kind of criteria or checkboxes you need to fulfill, right now my learning from that is to find someone that is aligning with your value instead of aligning with your criteria.
And what is your value?
I think that's also a personal journey as well. Initially, I was really appearance focused. 外貌协会. I'm a typical 外貌协会.
99% of the population.
But I was like extremely 外貌协会.
Or says 99% of the population.
But and I was looking more like external factor and looking at the person. Oh, does he have a great career? Does he's like very driven? So I fall into the trap of I want somebody who is like super like competitive in terms of career and very good looking. And very smart. Whether he's empathetic enough, or whether he can cook, or whether he take care of me, doesn't matter. Then, after a while, I realized that doesn't make me happy. Those traits doesn't make me happy in life. Like no matter how smart he is, no matter how great he is at his job, it's almost irrelevant.